The fastest way to get out of debt is to act poor. I'm going to tell you exactly what I mean by that and give you the guidelines I used to get out of debt. Welcome to Finish First Financially, a channel dedicated to helping millennials and Gen Z to get out of debt to build savings. I'm Goran Radanovic. Now, getting out of debt is essential to having financial freedom. It's impossible to be financially free if you have debt. Debt is the number one enemy of financial freedom. So before you start this whole process and dedicate all of your money towards getting out of debt, I want you to consider the fact that 60% of Americans who are making six figures annually are living paycheck to paycheck. That means people who are making a really good living are 1 month away from not being able to pay their mortgage or rent. They're 1 month away from being on the street. And it's happened to me. Layoffs have been implemented across industries, so it might happen to you. I ended up homeless, and it definitely can happen to you. And the last thing I want is for you to lose your home. It's one of the worst things that can happen to you. I lost my place that I was renting, and I had to live on the street. So before you get into this whole process of paying debt, I want you to have a safety net. And the safety net is an emergency fund, at least $500, but preferably $2,000 so that you can cover two emergencies if they crop up, and 6 months of essential expenses. Essential expenses are payments for your mortgage or rent, utilities, and food. Just those three things. So once you've got the emergency fund of $500 to $2,000 and the 6 months of essential expenses, only then should you start paying off all of your debts. I recommend paying the minimum amounts of debt while you're busy accumulating the emergency fund and the 6 months of essential expenses. But only after you have that should you put all of your money into paying off the debt. So now you're thinking, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. How on earth am I going to get a $2,000 emergency fund and then 6 months of essential expenses as well? It comes back to what I said about living like you're poor. Most people who are in debt are living way beyond their means. They're living richer than they are. That's why they finance the things that they actually can't afford. So now you need to start living way below your means. And you do that by getting a piece of paper and pen and writing out all of your expenses on each line. And you're going to start off with the biggest ones, such as housing, transportation, and food. Those are usually your biggest ones. And then list everything else that you spend money on. Take it line by line and start off with housing and analyze each expense to see how you're going to reduce it. As an example, to reduce my rent, I moved in with an elderly couple. I rented a room from them, and that decreased my rental expense by half. Think of your place. Is there a room that you can rent out? Is it possible for you to move to a cheaper area? This is especially applicable to remote workers. You don't have to be at a specific place, so look for the cheapest place. Then you look at your transportation. Do you actually need your car? How vital is it to have the car? I know it feels good to have it. I know it's comfortable, but do you really need it? Would it be so bad if you sold your car and needed to use public transportation? You're going to save a tremendous amount of money by not having to fill up the car with gas, repairs and maintenance, and all the licensing fees that come along with it. I know from personal experience. I'm 38 years old and I haven't owned a car for the past 6-7 years. And I can tell you that it's done wonders for my finances. It really has helped a lot not having a car. Then you look at eating out. Why are you doing that when you're in debt? Why are you ordering food to your house? You should be preparing food at home. It's much cheaper. And then look at all the rest of your list. Things such as video streaming services, buying clothes, all of those things need to come to a complete halt. You need to stop doing that. You can't afford it. You simply cannot. I understand that you've gotten into this rhythm of just having it and it feels strange to no longer have a subscription. You don't need that. You need to cut it out. So analyze every single expense and come up with a way to reduce it. It's crucial. That's the only way that you can actually have money at the end of the month, is by spending less than you've conditioned yourself to. And I can tell you now from personal experience that if you do this, you will reduce your expenses by at least 10%. So you will have 10%, you should have a savings of 10% of your income every single month at the very least. If you give everything and you really take out all those unnecessary expenses such as pet food and grooming and all of that, you no longer have a pet, which is also necessary to get rid of because you're now living the minimalist lifestyle, you should have at least 10% of your income. So there's money going straight first into the emergency fund. Once you've topped up the emergency fund, then you start saving up for the essential expenses for 6 months. After you've got that, now remember, during that time while you've been saving up for this, you're also paying minimum amounts on the debt. After you've got the emergency fund and essential expenses, then make a list of all of your debt. And the first debt that I would recommend paying off, that I did, is the vehicle finance. The average vehicle payment in America for a used car per month is $500. For a new car, it's $700. Just think about that. Think if you paid off your car, you would have $500 additional every single month. For many people, their car payment is the difference between living paycheck to paycheck and having savings of $500 every single month, at the very least. So the first debt is to pay off your vehicle finance. If you don't need the car, sell it. Because remember, you're no longer going to have to pay for the gas, the insurance, repairs and maintenance, and everything else that comes with car ownership. After you've paid off the vehicle finance, then you'll dedicate that savings to the smallest debt. Once the smallest debt has been paid off, you're going to take the savings and that money, the payment for the smallest debt, to go into the second smallest debt. And then it just rolls over like that, with mortgage being your last debt. That's really the formula that works, that helped me, because once I got rid of the car, I no longer had all these additional expenses and I had a lot more money to dedicate to the smallest debt. And then I started paying it off, and then it just rolled over into the next debt. And that's how I managed to pay off all of my debt. And after I paid off all of my debts, I built up a savings account of $50,000. I can't tell you how liberating it feels not to have to pay creditors. In the morning, I work because I want to work, and the money that I make, it comes to me. It's not going out to creditors. And I'd like you to reach that goal as soon as possible. And the fastest way is to start acting like you're poor. Live like you're poor. Because people who are broke are trying to show off. They've got everything financed. Whereas people who are actually rich, for most of them, you'd never even say that they've got money, because they're driving a normal car. They don't have any designer label clothing. They're just acting normal. So you should start acting like you're poor, living like you're poor, because if you're in debt, you are poor, and it's time to clean up that mess. Now, if you need more help with this, I'm offering free consultations. If you'd like to come onto the channel, email me at finishfirstfinancially@gmail.com so we can look at your specific situation and see how much debt you've got and structure a way for you to lower your expenses so that you can start tackling the debt. I'll link everything in the description below. All of that information will be available there. Get in touch with me so that you can get out of debt as soon as possible to start building savings.